Hi there, welcome to Pilates with Jess Nelson. Today we're going to need a foam roller and a stretchy band. And our focus today is going to be on shoulder mobility. So we need to make sure that our shoulders are first mobile, and then we can build some stability and then some endurance and power. So we're going to do a full body workout, but that's kind of our theme that we're just going to toss things in throughout the class today. So as we always do, we've got to get ourselves set up for success. That means good posture. So let's get our alignment together. Feet are firmly planted in the mat, knees are over the ankles, hips are over the knees, ribs are nicely balanced over those hips, shoulders rolled back and down. Might feel good here to just get a little neck stretch and settle that in where that earlobe is right over that shoulder blade. And let's take a couple deep breaths here just to get ourselves centered. So we're going to inhale up and exhale down. Might feel good to close your eyes here. Inhale up and exhale down. Last big breath here, inhaling up. And on the exhale, we're going to let that head hang heavy and come down to our first roll down. So letting the head reach its way toward the ground, feeling a stretch all along the back side of the body, opening it up. A couple deep breaths here. You might not get down this far to start with, and that's okay. We'll get it stretched out. Pushing your belly button to the spine, restack those bones up one at a time. And let's do that again. Inhale up and exhale down. We're going to go ahead and clasp our hands up overhead. Inhaling up, hands come together, flip inside out to the palms to the ceiling. And we're going to reach up long through the left side of the body first, and then arc over toward the right. Might be a mirror image to you. Either way, we're going to do both sides. Now twist the torso, keep the hips pointing forward and twist at the waistline to take the chest to the mat, and then really feel those opposing forces from the upper half of your body and the lower half of your body all along that diagonal. Unfurl, and come back up through center, and let's do that again, but do the opposite side. So stretch up nice and long through the right side here. Arcing over, opening up that side body, breathing through it, twisting at the waist to aim the chest toward the mat, hips still aiming toward the front. And back through center. Let those arms come down for a moment. We're going to do a similar thing to that, but we're going to do it down below. So let's go ahead and bring those arms up overhead. Do that nice, beautiful roll down. And now here, we're going to walk the hands over to the left side of the body. So again, the hips stay facing forward. We're feeling that rotation at the waist and the hips there. Back through center, and then in the opposite direction. Just trying to stretch it out in all directions before we get to work. Back through the center, pushing the belly button up to restack. Roll those shoulders back. Let's get a little heat started in the body, shall we? So we're going to do some chair sits. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what this good form looks like. What we don't want to see is these knees going out over the toes. We want the knees to stay where you can still see your little big toes peeking out just below those knees, right? So we're going to come down into our chair sit. Arms can come up or they can stay here wherever you're ready for this morning. And we're bringing it back, down and up. As you work through a couple of these, let's go ahead and get some mental pictures going. So when we come down, it's like we can feel the sits bones, those bony points kind of widen. And then when we come up, we're bringing them back together, scooping them up. So I messed up my arm thing there, but you can go either way. So you can come down and have your arms back and hands up. Either way, just keep moving, getting those chair pose. Get those legs warmed up. Get the heart rate up a little bit. I like this motion because it's actually going to take us into the next level of this. So we're going to scoot with our arms back. We're going to come up, push through up onto our pads of our feet, balls of our feet, up to a nice big releve, and then come back down into the chair pose. Do them slow until you have the balance ready. And then you can speed them up if you like. Doing 6 more. 3, 2, and 1. And you can bring that down. And then we're gonna take ourselves to the back of our mat, do a roll down and find ourselves into all fours here. So inhaling up, arms come up overhead, exhale, forward fold, let the head hang, and walk yourselves out to hands and knees. In this position, knees are right under the hips, wrists are right under the shoulders, and fingers are spread nice and wide for support on your mat. Let's do a couple cat-cows. So we're going to exhale, arch the spine up, and tuck the head and the tail under. Inhale, opposite direction, belly hangs, tail and head try to meet each other in the back. The tail and the head want to get together so badly, they're like, can I do it down here? No, let's try the other way. You guys, I'm a big dork, so just laugh at me or with me, either way. It'll help us get through. I'm just feeling the stretch in both directions, remembering to breathe. One more each way. And then settle that into neutral, so a nice long line from head to tail. And we're going to thread the needle, so get those shoulders start to open up. So we've gotten a little bit of weight on them here in this all fours position, but let's stretch them out. So we're going to let that arm open up to the side, either one you want to start with, and we're going to thread it on through. So it's going to come through this hole, and we're going to come down to the shoulder and just feel that stretch. Might feel kind of funny because your tush is way up in the air, but just get yourself settled where you're putting just the right amount of pressure on this shoulder. After a couple deep breaths there, you can unthread that needle, come back into your all fours position, open in the opposite direction, twisting at the torso, threading that arm on through that nice little gap there and coming on down to that shoulder. Should feel a nice long stretch along the back into the shoulder. And then back up through hands and knees and push back to child's pose. Hips comes back over those heels. Arms reach out long in front of you, forehead to the mat. And breathe. Okay. Let's push through and grab our roller. And we're going to mount this roller with it long ways on our spine. So set it down on your mat. I find the easiest way to get onto it is to come down here and straddle it, and then you're going to roll yourself back. So the legs come out from underneath. The legs are going to be the anchor, and we're going to just roll and line up our spine on this roller. So in this position, just kind of wiggle in and get yourself situated. The feet are going to stay planted. They're going to be your stability for this. And if you want to make sure you kind of have all that length in the spine, just make sure that your head's not hanging off the top of the roller. And when you're here, just take a couple deep breaths. You're already going to start to feel that chest open up, which is what we want to do here to start with. So relax into it. And then when you're ready, we're going to take the arms up overhead as if we were holding a box up here above our chest. And that box is empty, it's not heavy, it's just there to kind of keep our hands in an even position. And let's go ahead and work on a little bit of mobility in those shoulder blades in particular. So we're going to reach the box up higher to the sky, and you should note that both scapula or shoulder blades come away from the roller. And then we're going to bring that box closer to our chest with straight elbows. You're going to feel those shoulder blades pinch the roller. That's what you want to feel. So pinching the roller when you bring the box closer to the chest, and leaving the roller when you take it farther away. So do a couple of those and really experiment with what muscles are firing. What do you got to do to stretch that box up higher to the sky and really pull those shoulder blades away from the center line of your body out to the sides? And then when you bring them together, it's like you're trying to squeeze them around that roller, squeezing that roller tight. It's like a little massage too. You can kind of shrug while you're there. I'm not going to tell on you. Enjoy it. Couple more of those. The key here is keeping those elbows straight and making the work happen in the shoulder blades. And then settle that into neutral so you're not pinching and you're not reaching. And next we're just going to take those hands up overhead. So now the biceps are up by the ears, palms are facing inward. Flip the palms up to the sky. Angel wings out to the side till you get down to your hips. Flip the palms back in toward the body, back up through the chest. So we're going to do a couple of those. Noting if there's any popping or grinding or weird nagginess happening in either of those shoulders. We want to make sure that we're never moving through pain. We're not going to hurt ourselves. We're here to build and make them more mobile and functional for us, so that way we can do all the things we enjoy in life, whether that's out planting in the garden or playing with the kids, riding your bike, tennis, all those wonderful things that we find interesting. Even if you're not an outdoors person, maybe you're an indoors person. I'm making assumptions here. Let's take them in the opposite direction. So now the hands are going to come up out to the side, up toward the biceps, to the ears, palms flip in, and then we go opposite way. Maybe you like to sit inside and play video games or cook or bake. All those things require you to make sure that you have mobility in your upper body, right? Even texting, you got to have that dexterity, and it's all integrated, folks. All right, I've rambled enough. We've done enough of those. Bring those hands back up to the sky, and we're going to do one more. So now we're going to take those elbows down parallel to the ground, goalpost arms. So we've got these nice, like we're ready for the goal to come in through the football, kick through our arms. And so from here, your arms might open and you might even be able to touch the ground. Not happening with me. So I'm just going to make sure that they're nicely parallel to the ground there. And then we're just going to flip them. So we're going to pivot to where the palms face down, and then they open and face up toward the sky. So it's like a little hinge, kind of at the shoulder there. There's a lot going on here in this little motion. Again, making note if there's any kind of grinding, popping, nagginess, whatever. All right, that's the last one there. So let's go ahead and get off this roller. So just roll yourself to one side or the other and flick the roller on out of the way. We won't need it for a little bit here, so you can actually move it quite far out of the way to make sure you don't hit it for anything. And we're going to work on just engaging that core to get us prepared for some work. Let me move that even further out of the way. There we go. All right. So if you've never taken a Pilates class before, you may not have heard the terms imprint or scoop, or engage those abs or your core, your powerhouse. So I'm just going to do a quick little lesson through here just to make sure we're all on the same page. So the powerhouse is basically from the shoulders on down to the pelvis, down to the hips, and all around. So this is where the power emanates out through your limbs, right? And so we have the transverse abdominis wrapped around the waist. We've got the pelvic floor muscles, which cut off the flow of urine. And then we've got the front abs, right? Those six-pack abs, rectus abdominis, that also help kind of get everything going. And we've got some stuff going on in the back, multifidi and other things going on too, but we really don't think about working on those. They just kind of automatically fire. Anyway, so what we want to do is make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and we're firing those deep core muscles so that way they help us stay stable throughout the rest of our day and the rest of our exercises. So we're just going to work first on marching. So I want you to gather in all those muscles. So just kind of hug in the waistline. It's not bracing for a punch. You're not squeezing. You're hugging in at the waistline, hugging in down there where you're trying to cut off the flow of urine. And you just feel this beautiful stability right here in the waist. And I don't want you to think about moving your hips in any way right now. I just want you to let them be neutral so you can feel that little gap in your low back between you and the mat. So keeping those hips as stable as possible. I like to put my fingers right here on these bony hip points to keep myself honest. I'm engaging enough to give me the stability. I'm going to float one foot up, put it down, float the other foot up. You're going to feel there's a shift, so your body's naturally anticipating that movement, and so I want you to try to even it out so there's not a jostling shift. So if you're not really holding in your core, you're going to kind of feel that tip happen pretty drastically, but you can dial it in, hugging in those muscles to where you feel almost no movement here on the waistline as you pick one leg up and put the other one down, or you know what I mean, as you do this little marching thing. All right, so now you found that stability. That's our lumbopelvic stability here. And we didn't even have to do that scoop. We didn't have to push our back into the mat. And that's kind of the key. We want to train ourselves as much as possible in neutral and only take that imprint or that scoop when we're going to be sending both legs away, or if we really don't have the core stability and we're still working on it. All right, that's enough of that. So now the other half of what you need to have a good balanced and preparedness for most Pilates exercises is the ab curl. So we all know how to crunch. We've done that since we were little kids. We've been forced to do these horrible exercises that make us hate working out, but I'm here to correct that for you. So engaging all those same powerhouse muscles, feeling the waistline come in, everything's nicely engaged here. You can have your hands behind your head, elbows in your peripheral vision, and you can still breathe. So it's not so tight that you can't get a nice, good, deep breath. I want you to think about keeping this space between your chin and your chest. And instead of thinking of curling up, I want you to just aim your gaze out over your knees, and I want you to float that upper body up. So you're floating up. You might not get very high, you're peeling those shoulders up, but you're already starting to shake because you're using those deep muscles rather than hinging, weird stuff on your neck or pulling at your arms. It's really in the abdomen, right? So do a couple of those, engaging it, floating up, and coming back down. We're gonna build on this, and then we're gonna get to work. As if this wasn't work already, she says. All right. So the next one, I want you to come up, and I want you to come up to a height that you know you can sustain for a few moments. So here we are, and then we're gonna make sure we have all that stability that we found at the beginning of this little sequence, and then we're gonna float one leg up, bring it down, float the other leg up. So we're relearning where that counterbalance happens in our body and finding that dynamic stability. What if we brought both of them up? You might need a scoop. You might need to want to press that low back into the mat if it feels a little bit precarious there. Just tighten it up a little bit more, and then from here we do those nice little marchy steps. Keeping it stable. What you don't want to see is this hips, the lower back popping up off the mat. You want to make sure that you've got a nice quiet waistline. All that's moving are those legs. And then bring those legs down, lower body down, and stretch the body out long in both directions. Okay. So next we're going to roll right into the Pilates 100, and we've got some options here. So that, what we just did, is the baseline for most Pilates core-based exercises. And so that's why it's always good to review those basics to make sure that we're all on the same page so that you are doing the rest of the class safely and effectively. So arms come up overhead. We're going to engage that core. Legs float up into that tabletop position. A lot of work happening, right? Now, you can keep the knees right here, and we're going to float this body up, and then we're going to slap water for 100 counts, breathing in for 5 and out for 5. If that's baby's work to you, you're like, whatever, then you can take those legs straight to the sky, do the same thing. And if you are like higher level order here, you're just going to take those legs out to a 45-degree angle, and you're here, making sure to protect your low back, whichever option you pick. So, and I'll let you know when we're halfway if you want to start one way and then switch to another. Totally up to you. So here we are. We've got ourselves ready. Core is engaged. Float those legs up to the knee bent position. Upper body floats up, and we inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. Halfway. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. We come back through that starting position, bring it down, and stretch it out. Whew. We feel it now, don't we? Let's work on a little bit more of the lumbo-pelvic stability. So that really got the core fired up. And so I want to do some single leg circles with you. And so what that can look like is that we're going to work on the right leg first. So the left leg can be bent just in this position if this feels good for you, or you can straighten that leg. So you're going to experiment with and find out which one's going to work best. The idea is you want to make sure that you can keep these hips as quiet and still as possible. So I'm going to start with a knee bent, take that right leg straight to the air, engage those muscles all around the core like we did at the beginning. Catch my breath and focus. So now with this one leg straight up, we're going to point that toe, and we're doing tiny little circles to start with because we want to see what our range is before we start to move those hips. So there's nothing static or still or unchanging about Pilates, or anything in your body for that matter. There's always action happening. So your body is responding to this motion, counterbalancing, counterweighting. So pay attention and hone it in, trying to keep those hips stable. Stop and switch directions. If this is easy, you can make the circles bigger. But you should start to feel a lot of activation around the thigh, all the activation in the core, because you're keeping that all engaged to keep your body still while this leg moves in its socket. And then quiet that down, take it back down to the mat, and set yourself up for the other side. Again, the leg can go straight or bent on the leg that's not being worked. We're looking for about 8 circles in one direction, nice long leg. And I want to make note that if you have really tight hamstrings and it's nearly impossible for you to straighten your leg at this point, you can keep that knee bent and do this same motion and get the same mobility in the hip and stability in the waist, as long as you're focusing on keeping that stable. Opposite direction. Remembering to breathe the whole time. I strongly encourage this kind of self-tactile cueing here, like where you can just kind of feel your bones. I love feeling what's happening in my body, not only through my body, but through my hands. So I do encourage you to just, the points that we're talking about, put your hand there and see what it feels like. Stretch it out, back to the mat, and let's go ahead and hug it all in for a moment and rock side to side. Okay, so we're going to roll right into the double leg stretch. And so what that looks like is we're going to engage the core. We're going to bring those knees, kind of hugging them into the chest, and we're going to float up into that ab curl with our hands reaching toward the shins. So this is going to help with some shoulder work too. So as the legs shoot out, the arms come up overhead, sweep around, and then hug it back into that ball. We're going to do 8 of these. 2, 3. You'll notice that everything in the middle of your body is still, and the only things moving are those legs and those arms. And 2, and 1. Stretch the body out long way, both ways again. And we'll do one more here before we come to a seated position. Now let's do the single leg stretch. So we're going to take those legs up to the sky. We're going to float the upper body up, and these legs are like big scissors. So we're going to bring one closer to our face as the other goes away, and then snip. Feel the rubbing of the inner thighs, all that power. We're halfway. We're doing 8 sets of these. Remembering to breathe, keeping the waist quiet, powerful and engaged. Last set. And then hug it in. And that's it. Let's roll and come to a seated position. And then we're going to do a little bit of modified roll-up type work here. So in our seated position, we've got our knees bent, our feet flat on the mat, sitting nice and tall, feeling those bony points plant themselves into the mat. Taking our arms up ahead of us, we're going to work on that little scoop that we did. So it'll feel like the roll down, but in a seated position. So If you think about your hips as a bowl, they're sitting and the top of the bowl is nice and level. I want you to spill the water out of that bowl by tilting it backwards. So that means the front lip of the bowl right here is going to come up toward your nose, and the back part of the bowl is going to tip down toward the mat. So that will, without going too far, what that will look like is like this, right? It's not a huge tip, it's just a gentle tip. Maybe it's a really shallow bowl. And then we come back up. To do that, if you're not finding that subtle motion, think about taking your belly button and like you're trying to sink it back down into your tailbone. That might help. So let's go ahead and do that. Find that little scoop and then roll back as far as we can go to where it starts to shake, and then come back up. Sit nice and tall when you get to the top. Tip the bowl, holding the bowl tipped all the way to back till you shake, and then pulling from the front of those low abs, come on up. Let's do one more like that. Back up, and now we're going to add a twist. So now we're doing the same thing, tipping the bowl, coming back. We're going to twist to the left, open the arm, bring the arm back. Let's twist to the right, back, and up. I'm going to give you a little better cues that time. So let's tip the hips, coming on back to that shaky point, twist at the waist, open the arm, gaze follows that hand, arm comes back close through center, holding that tilt back, twist to the opposite direction, gaze follows that hand, back through center, and up. 2 more sets of those. Back, twist, open, close, twist, close, up. Last set. Back, twist, reach, and twist, reach, center, and back. At this point, it might feel good to put the soles of those feet together. Those feet. It's already plural, Jessica. Put the soles of those feet together. Open those thighs, and just go forward fold as much as it feels good. And then we're going to move on to do some bridging. All right, so come on back down to your back. Feeling yourself kind of spread out, taking up as much real estate as you can on that mat. Shoulders are open. And we're going to do a little bit of bridge work. We're just going to do a flat back bridge because we just did a lot of scooping and articulating, and we're just not going to mess with that anymore. So thinking about from your hips to your ribs, it's just a flat board. You're going to push your heels into the mat, and then you're going to activate each of your glutes. So each butt cheek is going to squeeze, but they're going to squeeze individually, not together like this, but rather like they're trying to reach for your heels, which is a weird thought, but if you fire them and really feel like you're trying to reach those glutes to the heels, you're going to feel a lot more power down the leg rather than just pinching into the low back. Pushing the hips up to the sky, take a deep breath, and on the exhale, slowly lower that flat back down to the mat. At your pace, inhaling one way and exhaling the other, cycle through about 6 bridges, really focusing on those firing of the individual glutes. That's where I want your mind-body connection to be, is in these big, powerful muscles back here. Halfway there. The reason I want you to fire them individually is because I'm going to take one of your legs away. And so if you're trying to squeeze them into the center, it's not going to give you a lot of balance. So we've got to train our body to have a little bit more balance than trying to move it all to the middle. We want to balance out the sides. On this next one, we're going to come up and we're going to hold. So let's all get there. We're coming up to the top. We feel lots of power all down our legs, pushing our feet in the mat. We're not letting our legs splay open. Rather, we're keeping them nice and parallel. So there's activation on the inner thighs here. I want you to shift your weight into your left foot. So this left foot is going to stay planted, keeping the hips as level as possible, not letting them dip. I want you to take that right leg and float it up off the mat. If you can, take that right leg straight up to the air, minding those hips. You're going to pump that leg 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. See why it's important to activate each individual glute? Bring that hips back down. Take a moment. Take a break. Take a breath. We gotta do the other side. So not letting your shoulders curl up and in. Keep them nice and spread wide. Hips come up to the sky. Activating now that right glute, shifting the weight into the right foot, keeping those legs, inner thighs activated as well. Float the left foot up. Hips stay level. One side's gonna be easier than the other. This side's not easier for me. We're doing 4, 2, 1. Bring it back down, down, and then just let your knees flop side to side. Windshield wiper those legs to get some relief off the low back. Next, let's roll to our side. And we're gonna do some pinwheels to open up these shoulders before we get onto our bellies. So the arm's gonna come out long underneath you. The head's just kind of here, out of the way, not hurting anything, not letting it hurt you. Top hand reaches it, knees are bent for stability. We're gonna open up that hand, bicep comes around the ear, finding the natural rhythm and flow of where your arm wants to twist as it comes around. Don't force it to stay in one direction. There's going to be a natural rotation that happens in that shoulder as you bring that arm behind you. So notice what that natural rotation is and when it happens. Does it happen right when it gets bicep to the ear? Does it happen a little bit before? Everybody's body is a little bit different. There's no one right or wrong answer, just notice. And let's go the opposite direction. Same thing, finding the natural rhythm of that rotation of the arm. I'll do a couple more here and then we'll flip over and do the other side. Last one. This should feel pretty good in the shoulder joint, kind of opening everything up. And let's flip over and do the opposite side of our body. Again, bending those knees for stability. Arm comes out directly in front of the chest. Head's just kind of hanging there. Hands meet each other. And then we rotate that arm around. Letting the natural rhythm happen. Only going back behind our body as far as is allowable without pain or irritation. Just opening it up. Last one in this direction, then we're going to take it to the opposite direction. Go the other way. One more after this one. All right, and then we're going to go and find ourselves face down in the mat. So get yourself situated where you can find a nice long line of the body, walking the legs away from the hips. Hands can be right at the shoulders, nose is down toward the mat, and neck is really long. We feel a beautiful long line all from the tip of our head all the way down to the tip of our toes. So in this position, let's go ahead and first keep our hands planted. And what we're going to do is be very mindful of each step of this. So our core is engaged for stability. That's our anchor on the mat. We're going to widen those collarbones, and so naturally our shoulder blades come back down a little bit. And then we're going to peel up as we inch forward with our chest, peeling up off the mat, only as high as our muscles can handle, taking us up. We're not pushing to get there. And back down. Remembering to breathe. Inhale one direction, out the other. And when you're ready, when you've found the motion, you can let those hands float up with you. Might not get up as high, and that's okay. Pay attention to where your rest of your body tries to activate to help. I just noticed that my glutes fired because they want to help. I'm trying to relax them and have the work happen all along those long, beautiful muscles in my back. We're going to do one more here. This is kind of our activation for the back side here. And then turn your head to one side and just windshield wiper those legs. And let's come back to that same position, nose toward the mat. And this time we're going to do a little bit of closed circuit swimming. So what that looks like is the hands will come out overhead. If you find that your shoulders found their ways to your ears, slide them back down. So the shoulders should be in the nice natural neutral position, so they're not trying to cram down your back, but they're also not up in your ears. And then your feet are down there at the bottom of the mat. So you can feel all four corners planted right now. I want you to keep the left hand and the right foot planted and just push the mess out of them. Like you're trying to push the ground so hard away from you that those limbs are not going to move. And in the meantime, we're going to float the other pair up 8 times. So keeping that connection across the body from the left hand to the right foot, and then float up the opposite pair and reach and down. 7, remembering to breathe. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a moment if you want to turn your head in the opposite direction to get that neck stretch. And let's do the other side. So now the right hand and the left foot are firmly planted, pushing into the earth. Lots of activation on that diagonal pair. And we're floating up the opposite pair and reach for 8, 7. Trying to keep the pair equal, like you're trying to bring them up the same distance. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of relief on that back. I'm going to push back into a child's pose. You could also do a cat-cow here, and it'll really stretch out that low back for any tension that got stored up. A little bit of discomfort in the low back. That's probably going to happen as we build muscles, but if it's painful, that's not what we want. So don't press into the pain. Back off, avoid those exercises if they cause pain. Always listen to your body. All right, we're going to come down and do one more thing on our bellies. So this one's called the single leg stretch, or single leg kick, excuse me. So we're going to get ourselves up into a little like Sphinx position. The elbows are right under the shoulders and right about chest width apart. We're going to make sure those legs are nice and walked out. We're going to engage the core because that's what's going to kind of keep us stable without shaking. You'll see that in a minute. So neck stays in line with the spine. It's not hanging like so or arched like this. It's nice and long. We're looking about maybe a foot or two out over the mat, the edge of the mat. So then we're going to bring one heel to the glute and we're flexing that foot and we're going to kick, kick, reach. Kick, kick, reach with the opposite foot. So we're alternating feet. Kick, kick, reach. Kick, kick, reach. Don't cheat yourself on the reach when you extend that leg back out because we're working the whole time. Kick, kick, reach. Trying to keep your body as still as possible. Tighten up those abs. Tighten up the waistline if you find yourself moving a lot. One more on each side. Kick, kick, reach. Kick, kick, reach. And that's all for our stomachs for now. So gently push back and do a child's pose or cat-cow, something to take some relief on that low back. Whatever feels like you can get a nice stretch. For me, it's always low back. I should not always assume that you guys are having the same issues. I get a little bit of low back pain, so kind of stores up there for me. All right, I think it's time to move on to standing and we'll grab that band. So finding ourselves in a standing position with our band, we're going to do a couple things here to work on those shoulders and upper body. So finding it to be about a little bit farther than your chest. So if we were right here, that's about chest width distance apart. So you want it a little bit farther, and then wrap the band around your hands. And we're just going to start by opening those shoulders up, just like we did in that pinwheel. We want to really get that mobility working in the shoulder joint before we start doing any work with it. We don't want to train dysfunctions that we might already have, right? Like if we already know we've got some kind of little hitch in our shoulder or something that's kind of keeping us from full mobility, we don't want to make that stronger. So we're going to stretch it all out first. And you might not make it all the way back behind your body. It might be right here. That's okay. Honor that. All right, so we've got that opened up. Now we are going to take it a little bit closer, wrapping it around our hands again. And now we're going to tuck those elbows into the rib cage, and we're just opening and closing. So the motion's coming right from the shoulder joint as we open and close. Open and close. You don't have to do a lot. It's just about kind of waking up those muscles. There's a lot of little muscles that work all around those rotator cuff area there. All right, now let's get to work. So we've got the mobility going. We're going to work on a little bit of strength here and endurance. So the first one that I want to do with you is biceps. So we're going to work on those. Since those are bigger mover muscles and not necessarily kind of stability muscles, we can work them a little bit harder. So you're going to put the band under your feet. You're going to find the right tension for you. So while you're wrapping the band around your hands, you might want to choke up a little more or let some slack out if it's too much. I'm going to turn to the side so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So there's a little bit of a bend in my knee. I'm not locking them out. And there's a little bit of a bend at the waist, just to kind of whatever's natural in your body. But you're not kind of arching or doing any kind of weird postures. We still have our nice, beautiful posture. And we're just going to make sure those palms are facing up to the sky. And we're just doing little bicep curls with the band. We can do a lot of these because we don't have a lot of weight on. Now, if you have a band that is a lot more thick, well, that's a lot more resistance. That's the word I was looking for. You might not need as many. So if you have a lighter resistance band, then you can do a lot more reps. We're going to do 3 more with the full range. 2, 3. And now we're going to just come up halfway. So we're coming right at as if we were kind of holding a tray out in front of us and down. We're doing 8 of these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to take the top half and bring it down to that tray. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're doing full range again for 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're done with biceps for now. Stretch that out. I like to just kind of take it back. It helps me feel like I get a nice little stretch. And then we're going to do triceps. So this one, we still have that micro bend in the knees, cores engaged, a little bit of a lean forward, flat back lean forward. We bring those hands straight to our hips and we kick back, engaging the whole tricep, and bring it back to the waist. Back, waist, back, waist. 2 sets of 8 here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it back, and now we're going to pulse inward. So we're trying to bring those arms in toward each other behind us for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more set. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let that go for a moment. Might be a good time now to stretch those triceps out. So go ahead and take one hand behind your back and just kind of give a nice little gentle push. Feeling that nice, beautiful stretch. Make sure you do both sides. All right, we're going to do 2 more here with the shoulders. We can do so many things, but I don't want to overdo it for you because what we want is just that nice, gentle mobility. We can get power in those muscles, but I'm going to take us into some lats. So we want these nice muscles back here. They kind of come up our back and then they attach right here on the inside. So they are part of that whole system. So we want those to be nice and strong and functional for us. So we're going to find that band length that was a little bit wider, twist it around our hands, it comes up above. And what I want you to think about is nice tall posture. You're going to feel activation all along the rib cage. All those muscles along the rib cage are going to fire, and then you're going to feel like your waistline, at the top of your waistline under your ribs, gets tighter, like you can feel it squeeze in. So that's the kind of feeling you want to feel there. So bringing it down, as you stretch the band out and down, you feel that lift under your rib cage. Almost like somebody's just got their hands and they're lifting it up. Finding that lift. We're just going to do 2 sets of 8 here. Nice and slow and intentional. Choke up on the band if you need more. Loosen it if you need less. Halfway in the first set. I can't count. I don't know if I was halfway in the first set, but I love these. I could do them all day. So let's just do 8 more. I don't want to torture you. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. This might be a nice opportunity to take a forward fold. Stretch those lats out. Might feel good to walk it out. Taking the opposite, so I've got my right hand walking it to the left side of my body and reaching, and then doing the same thing on the other side. Reach. Pushing it back up through center. We're going to do one more thing with this band, and then we're going to lie on and do some side lying work and some squats. Probably squats first, just so you know what's coming. Finding that band right back under your feet, getting the slack that you need in there. We're going to do an overhead press. So this one's going to be a little trickier if your band is shorter or really tight. So what I want you to do is you're going to have your palms facing backwards. You've got fists on your band, bend at the knees, a little bit of a bend at the waist. And so first it's a row up, and then you flip, and then you push up to the sky. So down. So it's row up with the fist pointing downward, flip the wrist so the palms face the front, press up overhead. So we're getting kind of 2 things here in one. It's a combo move, row, and then overhead press. Pay attention to what's going on in your shoulders. Make sure you're not working through pain. Let's just do 4 more. 3, 2, and last one. There we are. We got the upper body done. So before we go to side lying, since we're already standing, let's go ahead and do our squats. You can bonus it with these bands if you want, or you can hold this roller. So I'm going to show you a couple different options to increase the intensity if you want a little bit more. So you can, the squats are kind of like what we did with our chair sets in the beginning, but we're going to really burn it out. So you can have the band under your feet, and you can come into your squats like this. So that's one option with your band, right? Another option is to not fall down and die with that thing. Geez. Is to have your roller, and you come into your squats this way. And the final option to have no prop, which is what I'm going to do. Because it's enough. I'm telling you, you're going to feel it. So pick your option, get yourself set up. Same principle as in the beginning of class. We don't let those knees go out over those toes. We're going to do 8, 8, 8, 8. So 8 full slow squats, 8 pulses to the back, 8 pulses up, and then hold it for 8, and then we'll go down for sideline work, which you'll be so appreciative once we get there. All right, here we are. Core is engaged, arms come up as the tush goes back for 1, pushing it up, and 2. Don't cheat yourself. And 3, make it work. 4, 5, nobody's watching you, right? 6, but you are, so you know you can do the best you can do right now. 8, all right, now hold it down, shift your weight to your heels, and we're going to pulse down for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shift your weights to the balls of your feet like your heels could pop off if you wanted to, and then we're going to push the butt up for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plant all 4 corners of the feet, and we're hanging here together for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly push up to standing. I bet you want a quad stretch, because that's what I want. Find the roller for stability if you've got it nearby. Whew. Bring that leg behind you, keeping the knees as close together, and just really finding that opening in the front of the leg there. We're almost done. But I'm guaranteeing that if you're really putting in the effort, you're really focusing and connecting the mind to the body, you are going to feel a difference. You're going to feel the power. You're going to feel better in your body if you commit to this. And it's not every day. Do it like 2 or 3 times a week. Get your cardio in, whether that's a walk, a run, a bike, whatever floats your boat. Just take care of yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you. All right. Let's come on down. We're not going to use any props for this next section. We're going to do it old school. So we're coming on down to side lying. So find your way down to the mat. Your arm is your pillow. Your bottom knee can be bent for stability. Hips are stacked one on top of another. And you don't want to rock back or forth. So your goal in that lumbo-pelvic stability region, right? Keeping all that waistline nice and hugged in. Top leg is stretched out very long, like you're trying to reach that toe to the opposite end of the room. This top hand can be here for stability. So we're going to lift and lower. We're doing 8 lifts, then we'll do 8 circles, and then we'll do 6 bicycles in each direction. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. We're going to get through it together. 3, 2, 1, hold it up, reach that toe, tiny little circles. Remember when we did those leg circles at the beginning of the class lying on our back? Same concept here. But we're trying to keep everything still with less contact on the mat. Stretch it out long, opposite direction. Tiny little circles. All that's moving is that leg in its socket there. Everything else is having micro adjustments happen to keep your body stable. Reach it out long. So bicycles in both directions, right? So we're just going to do 6 of those. So with that nice long leg, I want you to bend the knee so your foot's behind you. Bring the knee up to the chest. Reach it long. Flex the foot till it goes all the way back, and then repeat. So there was 2, 3, just like riding a one-legged bike on your side. 4, totally normal. 5, 6. So taking it in the other direction looks like if that knee's to the chest, now we keep the knee bent. We kick that foot behind us like we're trying to kick ourselves in the tush. Extend the leg as we sweep it out in front of us. Bend the knee and back. That's 2, 3. Keeping in mind you want to keep the rest of the body stable. 4, 5, and 6. Bring that leg across. Pat it out. Get a little rub down, and then switch, and let's go to the other side. Setting yourself up the same way. Arm becomes the pillow. Catch your breath if you need to. Stack the hips one on top of the other. Bottom knee can be bent for stability. Top leg is nice and long. Top arm, another anchor. And we're lifting and lowering. We're not using momentum. We're using the power of the muscles in our leg, resisting as it comes down, power as it comes up. We're halfway there. 3, 2, 1. Holding it up, we're doing our tiny little circles. Reach that toe long, and we've got 8 little circles one way. Remembering to breathe, hugging it in, finding that balance to keep the body stable. Reach the leg, opposite direction. And our bodies are not perfectly symmetrical, so you're going to find one side and one direction might be way easier or harder than the other side. Just take note of it. Don't judge yourself. It's totally natural. Reach that leg long. We got those bicycles, so we're going to put the foot behind us, come up knee to chest, extend the leg all the way back. That's 2, 3, 4, get sloppy now. 5, 6. Now keeping the knee bent, foot comes back to the tush, wide long leg, sweeps it forward for 1, 2, 3. I don't know about you, but it's starting to burn. 4, 5, and 6. Pat that out as needed, and let's get a little bit of release. So we're gonna roll into our cool down here momentarily. Do a little bit of hip mobility. Oh my gosh, my legs are so tight I can't even reach my roller now. Oh, goodness. So, hopefully you don't have as hard of a time getting your roller as I do, but grab your roller and then pop your hips up and get your low back position on that roller in such a way that you can feel like you can safely bring your legs up off the ground. So your upper body's anchored, shoulders are spread wide. Let's just take those feet up to the air. Whew. And point and flex the feet. The core's engaged just enough to keep you stable on the roller. Nothing like we're not working hard anymore, guys. So start to cool it down. Maybe rolling those ankles. Let's open the legs wide, stretching out the inner thigh. And then zip them back up through center. Might feel good to crisscross the legs, open them, crisscross. Just play with it. Just whatever feels good. If you're getting popping and grinding, don't do that. Just kind of play with whatever you want here just to get the blood flowing. All right, and the last part we're gonna do here is just a nice big deep hip flexor stretch. So we're gonna hug one knee into the chest, let the other leg go long out toward the front of your mat and feel the opening all along the front of your waistline there. Couple deep breaths here. When you're ready, both legs come back up through center, hugging the opposite knee to the chest. Other long leg goes out long toward the front of the mat. Taking as much time or as little time as you want here, but at least a nice 2 or 3 deep breaths. Just letting that moment for the body to relax and release. And then bringing both knees into the chest and getting a nice little back massage, kind of rocking the hips one side to the other, or rolling the knees. And then put the feet down, pop yourself up off that roller, and let's get a number 4 stretch in. So on our back, we're gonna cross one leg over the other and pull that other leg in. So one hand goes in between the little 4, and then the other hand comes to the outside of that thigh, and we just hug it in. We can even use the elbow on the bent knee side to push into that if we want a little bit more stretch all along those little tiny hip muscles. And when you're ready, you bring that down, cross the other leg, same thing, pulling it in as little or as much as you want to feel the stretch. We worked those muscles pretty hard in side lying work, so be gentle with yourself, but get the relief you need. And bringing the feet back down, let's flop the knees over to the left side of the body. Right arm comes out, gazes out over those right fingertips for spinal twist. Big belly breath in and out. Letting the legs and the gaze come back through center. Legs go to the opposite side of the body. Other arm comes out, gazes out over those fingertips. And rolling to one side, pushing yourself up through to seated. Let's go ahead and end like we started, with a couple nice big deep breaths together. So finding ourselves in a comfortable position on our mat, taking the arms out to the side. Eyes can be open or closed, whatever your preference is. And let's take these 3 deep breaths together and reflect on all the good work we just did for our bodies and our minds and our hearts. Inhale up, exhale down, and up, and down. Last one here, inhale up, and exhale down. Thank you. That's all the time we have today. I hope that you got a great workout, a time to be with yourself, with your body, appreciate your abilities, push yourself on those things that you didn't think you could quite do. And I could ramble on forever, but I won't. Catch you next time, guys. Peace.